Welcome ladies and gentlemen, Skratch coming up with another Raid Shadow Legends video. We are currently on the test server and we're here because they're adding a bunch of new champions together with the Fusion champion, and there are quite a few of them, quite a few legendaries, and I just want to pause it for a second before we move over to talk about that and apologize in advance, or just letting you guys know that you're gonna hear a bit of a rant in today's video. And the main idea is that they are diluting the void pool for legendaries way too much. They're bringing in legendary champions that truly they are relevant as void legendaries, but some of them, they just do not deserve the title of void legendaries and are just making it harder for us to actually pull some of the strong void legendary champions that they are currently in the game. And I feel like it's definitely the time for them to change the summoning system. They need to improve it, the 10x chances, the events that they are currently doing. Now, with all that being said, we're gonna keep that part for the end of the video. Firstly, let's have a quick look at the brand new champions. How I mentioned, some of them are absolutely insane, okay? Insane. Some of them are kind of like, yeah, whatever, welcome to the club. And how you guys can see it, right here. 4 brand new void legendaries, 4 in a single go. This is probably the highest amount of void legendaries we ever got in a single patch in the game. And how I mentioned, some of them irrelevant, some of them wow. I'm gonna start with my most favorite one, and this is the one that I've seen in the ad with the Fusion champion, and I was like, I'm curious, who's this champion? Who is he fighting? Is that a new boss? And people were like, no, this is Drang, the old champion. No, it's not. It was actually Georgid the Breaker. Man, I gotta say it like this. This champion right here will be the most OP nuker in the entire game. Baron, Eilil, whoever else you might have known as the most OP champions are kind of like getting thrown in his pocket because he's such a freaking beast. Legendary, attack-based, void affinity from the Night Revenants faction. Design-wise, he looks pretty cool as a champion. Of course, Rats, he's carrying you on his back. What happened to you? What happened to you, Rats? He's carrying some rats on his back. He's pretty pissed off at the Fusion champion, which I'm gonna show you guys in just a second. 1608 base attack, similar with Randa. Let me just make sure I'm moving myself a bit out of the way. So that is very impressive already. Now, when we're talking about skills, guys, probably a lot of you guys like, Skratch, why are you so freaking excited, man? On the A1, attacks one enemy 2 times, has a 30% chance of repeating the attack. Unconditional, okay? Unconditional. This can be very powerful. The A2 attacks all enemies. Decreases the thermometer of all targets by 30%. This effect cannot be resisted. Places an unkillable buff on this champion for 1 turn if this attack kills an enemy. So if I kill somebody on a team, a Mortu Macab won't be able to proc a peril on me, to kill me, because I'm gonna have the unkillable on if I manage to kill somebody with this skill. And trust me when I'm telling you that this on a 3-turn cooldown is gonna be like, wait till you're gonna see the video. I'm gonna release a video on this champion ASAP, so after you watch this, make sure you go and watch the video on this champion to see how freaking amazing he is. And I'm just praying now. Hopefully, I'm gonna get him. The A3, Deadly Ballet, on a 3-turn cooldown as well. Attacks one enemy, will ignore Strengthen, Stone Skin, Unkillable, block damage, increase defense, ally protection, and shield buffs. Will ignore everything known to humankind, okay? Everything. Let me just put it like that. Grants an extra turn if this kills an enemy. Now, this champion right here is the definition of an OP nuker, and he is everything that Eilil failed to be. I know when we had Eilil, a lot of us got excited. But guess what? This time around, I tested the champion way before I even looked at his kit properly. I've seen what he can do, the damage that he can do. And then I'm here talking about the champion, okay? I made my homework, let me put it like that. Very nice, okay? Just being able to kill somebody with this, moving over to the AoE is just a beast, or just generally using a skill and getting the extra turn, amazing. And the passive has a 50% chance for this champion to ignore 50% of the target's defense from each hit placed by this champion's skills. Baron's A4 brought into his passive. Of course, it's only a 50% chance to proc like Helm Smasher, but oh boy, when this thing procs, he puts Baron to shame. So this is one of the champions, guys. I wanted to take a bit my time to cover it. Then we have this new Void legendary right here from the Dark Elves faction. She looks amazing. Design-wise, is like 20 out of 10, okay? Sick. Actually, the avatar looking at it is wow. But the problem is, she is irrelevant as a Void legendary. Yes, she looks amazing. Yes, she can do some things, but I do not see this champion at the caliber of a Void legendary only to dilute the Void pool. And we're gonna go over this rant a bit later. So, very nice base stats. Is a support champion from the Dark Elves faction. Very nice HP, decent speed. And when we're talking about the skills, on the A1, AoE chance to decrease speed, and then has a 30% chance of placing a fear debuff for 1 turn on enemies with 20% or less turn meter. Fully booking her will take you to 50% chance to land the debuffs. AoE, which is nice, great on a stun set for faction wars, but I'm pretty sure we have plenty of other champions that are not Void legendaries that can be used in faction wars, right? Then the A2 attacks all enemies on a 4-turn cooldown, has a 100% chance fully booked to land the stun debuff. After attacking, has a 100% chance to decrease the turn meter by 30% of each enemy without a stun debuff. So in case if you're not landing it, if you're getting resisted by the 3% chance, or they have block debuffs or anything like that, you're gonna decrease 30% of the turn meter, but that is on a 4-turn cooldown fully booked. The A3, on a 3-turn cooldown fully booked, will remove all debuffs from all allies, then fills the turn meter of each ally by 15%. Fills the turn meter of each ally by a further 10 for every fear, true fear, freeze, provoke, sleep, stun, or petrification debuff removed. Fills the turn meter of each ally by a further 5% for any other debuff removed. That actually sounds pretty interesting. It's gonna allow your team to rotate very fast with this skill being on a 3-turn cooldown. Just having the champion like on a Relentless or something like that to give her a lot of turns to use this skill pretty often could be potentially pretty nice. But what am I gonna use this? Doom Tower Waves? Yes. The Frost Spider? Yes. Am I gonna get much out of this champion anywhere else that other champions can do it and they're epics or something like that? Most probably not. I'm not feeling the vibe. Do let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. The passive, immune to sleep debuffs. Okay. Fills this champion's turn meter by 20% whenever an enemy tries to place fear, true fear, freeze, provoke, sleep, stun, or petrification debuffs on this champion. Yes, 1 year ago, this champion would have been amazing against Kymars. Absolutely amazing in arena against Kymar. But nobody really runs accuracy Kymars anymore, and this makes it pretty irrelevant. I love having a 23% speed aura for all battles. That's actually nice. I like to see that they're stepping up their game a bit. So that's another Void legendary. Then we have 2 special Void legendaries added to the game, and these are kind of like representing the Ukrainian folklore, the Ukrainian traditions, and these champions are meant to represent strength, unity. So they designed 2 special champions for their own people. Starting with Marichka, the Unbreakable. Very nice design on her as well. And they are kind of like in a pair together with Taras the Fierce. Both of them look very solid as champions. Expect to see guides on these champions. One today, one tomorrow. Definitely is going to happen. They look amazing as champions. So starting with Marichka, or how we say back home in Romania, Marichika. Let's start with Marichika. Pretty good base stat, support champion. Very nice speed as well. And on her kit, she brings something very unique compared to any other champion. The A1 attacks one enemy. One random ally will team up and join the attack. The ally joining the attack will always use their default skill. If Taras is on the same team, they will always be the one to join this champion's attack. So Taras will always join it if they're on the same team. Bloody hell, get lucky to pull both of these champions on your account. Easy, huh? Then, we're gonna have the A2. Fully restores any allies' decreased max HP, then heals all allies by 40% of this champion's max HP on a 3-turn cooldown fully booked, places a shield buff and a protected strengthen buff on all allies for 2 turns. The value of the shield buff is equal to 20% of this champion's max HP. So she's gonna be able to place shield and strengthen buffs on your team that cannot be removed, guys, which is actually huge. So very, very nice to see that as well. Very nice that we're getting a new mechanic to deal with the boss that we have for the new dungeon. Even though it's not necessarily needed, it's nice to see that something like this is kind of like getting prepared. The A3 removes all debuffs from all allies, then fills the turn meter of all allies by 15%, fills the turn meter of each ally by an extra 5% for each debuff removed from them, increases the resistance of all allies by 5 for each debuff removed, grants an extra turn if 5 or more debuffs were removed. On a 4-turn cooldown fully booked. Pretty nice to have a cleanse. All around a solid kit so far. And the passive revives all dead allies with 50% HP and 75% turn meter whenever this champion is killed. This is on a 3-turn cooldown as a passive. Places a block damage buff on all allies for 1 turn whenever an ally receives a bomb, poison, or HP burn debuff. If there are multiple champions on the same team with this skill, only one will activate. Bombs in arena, if you have this champion in your defense, are dead because you will be getting no damage whatsoever. And it doesn't need to land a bomb on this champion. This champion will counter the bombs on every other champion because the block damage blocks the damage from the bomb, so they will become completely irrelevant against a team that has Marichka in. And we have a speed aura in all battles by 24%. I like this champion and this the most. The third favorite is Taras the Fierce, and he's an HP based champion. He could potentially be much better than Magnar, much better than any other champion that's HP based in the game. He does have a very powerful kit, very good base stats, 22k HP. And on the A1, attacks one enemy 2 times, a 40% chance of placing decreased attack. Each critical hit fills the turn meter of all allies by 5%. Then we have the A2, attacks one enemy, places a stun debuff for 2 turns, deals double damage to enemies whose attack is equal to or higher than this champion's attack. Considering that he's a HP based champion, he won't be having a very high base attack. Avoid having any attack substat at any cost, and he could potentially destroy a Duchess because Duchess might have a higher attack than him if you're avoiding the substats on him. Whenever an enemy attacks Marichka, attacks that enemy using this skill. Then the A3 attacks all enemies and the damage increases by 15 for each buff on the allies, then increases the duration of all ally buffs by 1 turn, heals the champion by 5 for every buff that had its duration increased, and restores the decreased max HP equal to the amount of any surplus heal. On a 4-turn cooldown, we have 2 passives here. The first one, when attacked, decreases the enemy's attack by 10%, up to 50%, 25% against bosses, occurs once per skill, attack reduction resets after each round. That can be very, very powerful. Just imagine decreasing the attack on somebody else's nuker. Can potentially be pretty annoying, and it's gonna take him a while to kill you after. Then, places a fear debuff on all enemies from the Orcs, Ogryn tribes, Undead, and Demon Spawns factions at the beginning of each round. This debuff cannot be resisted, but it can be blocked. So you don't need accuracy on this champion necessarily, only if you want him to make the most out of his debuffs for PvE content. And having a chance to land the fear on everybody from this faction without needing accuracy is actually pretty nice. The last passive, all incoming damage from skills is reduced by 50%. So he's gonna take 50% less damage from skills, guys, which is very nice. When attacked, this champion's max HP will be decreased by 25% of the attack's initial damage before the damage reduction. Crit rate aura for all battles. These are our 4 brand new Void legendaries that are being added to the game. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Of course, we're gonna have the Fusion champion, which we already covered in a different video. Sounds interesting. I'm gonna drop a guide on this champion tomorrow. Decent base stats. His base stats are not that wow. For an attack champion, I wish his attack would be a bit higher. We're still not sure about multipliers, guys, but I like that he has decent amount of accuracy to start with, decent speed. His crit damage is low, not like he really needs it, but you know how it goes. He bombs with a skill right here, decrease attack, bombs, and more stuff happening from here. Bombs, grants extra turn. This skill right here is actually decreasing the detonation of bombs and stuff. But an interesting champion. I'm definitely gonna be curious to see how he performs, if he's doing good damage or no. Then we have a few epics, which most probably will be used for the fusion. We have a rare champion, which will be used for the fusion. I'm just keeping an eye to make sure I'm not missing any of them. So we have Endalia from the High Elves, HP-based champion. Interesting, but not that amazing. We have Poison, Provoke on the A1, sorry. Decrease attack and counter attacks enemies that are attacking her while they're under decrease attack. So she has a chance to provoke them after again. 50% chance fully booked. Interesting champion. I feel like out of all the epics, she might be my favorite. Accuracy aura for all battles. Then we have this new one from the Night Revenants. Magic affinity as well. Attack based, pretty good base stats. Nothing too insane, but decent for an epic champion. Comparing it with a fusion as an example. And it looks pretty interesting design wise. The skills on the A1, we have a chance to land the poisons, attacks one enemy 2 times. The chance is pretty low. The A2 has a chance to land the weaken on a 3-turn cooldown AoE. Interesting, but not amazing. The A3 attacks one enemy, decreases the duration of all enemy buffs, and increases the duration of all enemy debuffs by 1 turn. On a 3-turn cooldown, fully booked will be 100% chance. And the passive heals this champion by 3% of their max HP whenever an enemy receives damage from a poison debuff. Pretty damn interesting, but not amazing as a champion. Kind of like, yeah, whatever, you're here, but not like I really care about you. And we have 2 more epics. We have Trumbo right here. It looks sick as a design. An orc faction champion. Look at that massive shield. And yeah, design-wise is very, very nice. Defense-based champion. Decent stats. Good HP actually. Almost 19,000, 18,000. Skills on the A1. Attacks one enemy 2 times. The first hit has a chance to land a weaken. The second hit has a chance to land a leech. Fully booked will be a 40% chance for each hit. Interesting, it could potentially be decent for clan boss. The A2 attacks all enemies, removes a random debuff from all allies before attacking. Damage increases by 5 for each debuff removed. This makes him a pretty solid clan's champion for a clan boss. Fully booked will be a 3-turn cooldown. Then we have the A3, and this is my disappointment. Places an ally protection buff on all allies except this champion for 2 turns, and an increased defense buff on this champion for 2 turns. But fully booked is on a 4-turn cooldown. You will have to make him go on a 4-to-3 ratio to make him relevant. And then if you're unlucky with the books, this skill right here is going to go down on a 3-turn cooldown and is going to mess up your entire run. So it's going to be very hard to tune him for clan boss, unfortunately. That's why he is not my favorite from this batch. Whenever this champion is attacked, has a 20% chance of decreasing the duration of all debuffs on this champion by 1 turn. Fairly interesting. And we have the dwarf, the badass looking chick from the dwarf faction. Love the hair. Defense based, decent base stats. Her base defense is not that high. On the A1, attacks one enemy 2 times, will ignore shield. The A2 attacks all enemies, places a strengthen buff on all allies for 2 turns. The A3 teams up with 2 random allies to attack a single enemy. They will use their default skill and grants an extra turn if this attack kills an enemy. The passive counterattacks when hit while under a strengthen buffs placed by this champion. Fairly interesting, not amazing, right? Nothing too wow out of the ordinary. And we have a rare champion from the Bannerlords, Riskarm. Decent base stats for a rare champion. Defense based actually, 16, almost 17k HP and 1.2k defense. On the A1 has a chance to land a stun. On the A2 places a shield. And on the A3 counterattacks on a target ally and increase defense on all allies for 2 turns. The small version on a 4-turn cooldown. Not an amazing rare champion. These are all the new champions that are being added to the game. As it stands right now, we should be having around 204 legendary champions in the game. And around 15 of them or something like that cannot be pulled from shards. Some of them come from the Doom Tower. We have Ninja and other champions that can be pulled from shards. Now, the champion pool is getting diluted like crazy, man, okay? We definitely need Plarium to step up and improve the chances to summon. And when they're doing 10x events, that needs to be a 25x minimum to even be considered as decent, okay? To even give you a chance. Maybe they need to bring a mercy system for 10x champions. A lot of times you're gonna open five legendaries during a 10x and none of them are the legendary. Maybe they need to bring in a mercy onto it. Yeah, Krakens won't be spending so much anymore, but then more people will spend more money because they know, okay, I need to open one more to get that. And maybe it will balance. Who knows? I'm not sure. That's just an idea. Maybe they need to increase these chances from 0.5 to a 1%. We need empowerment. We need 5 copies of these champions to make them relevant now for endgame. From next year, we're gonna need 5 copies from each one to make one strong champion, depending on what's that extreme content that they are planning to bring in the game, where requires us to have champions empowered, awakened, ascend the gear, etc. And it's just not a bad idea. Plarium, step up your game with the summons. It's getting horrendous. It's getting like horrible to go through events, and you're doing these events daily. You're bringing in new champions every month. We just need you to step up a bit and improve the summoning events, especially the 10x raids. That was all for this video, guys. Much love. Appreciate all of you guys watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and I'll catch you all soon in the next one. Peace.